beauty once seemed gentler, less engineered, and far more human. Long before television faces were polished toward one identical finish, the screen gave us stars with mystery, magnetism, and unmistakable charm. Some projected strength, some carried tenderness, some simply held the frame with effortless presence. Today we are revisiting unforgettable names and the grace that made them linger. Before we move on, please tell us where you are watching from today and what time it is where you are. Those small details always make this walk through television history feel warmer and more personal. Michael Keaton first became a standout through Beetlejuice and Batman, where his quick intensity, sly comedy, and restless edge made him one of the most compelling stars of his era. Now 74, he still draws attention through major roles and lasting pop culture weight. He remains admired for reinvention, range, and a talent for staying unpredictable. Natasha Richardson earned lasting admiration through The Parent Trap and her luminous stage work, where refined elegance, emotional warmth, and quiet grace made her deeply cherished. She died in 2009 at 45, far too early. Her memory still glows through kindness, talent, and a presence that always felt naturally radiant rather than forced. Kim Cattrall became widely known as Samantha Jones, where glamorous confidence, fast wit, and fearless sensuality turned her into one of television's most unforgettable modern icons. Now 69, she continues choosing work on her own terms with clear independence. She is still admired for bold charisma, strong individuality, and a screen presence that never asked anyone's permission. Kirstie Alley became a television sensation as Rebecca Howe on Cheers, where glamorous confidence, comic spark, and flashes of vulnerability made her impossible to ignore. She died in 2022 at 71, leaving behind a career full of laughter and attitude. Her legacy still shines through fearless humor, unmistakable star power, and sitcom energy that never really faded. Emma Thompson became acclaimed through Howard's End and Sense and Sensibility, where sophistication, razor wit, and emotional precision established her as one of Britain's most respected screen figures. Now 66, she still balances film, television, and writing with remarkable command. She remains admired for elegance, intelligence, and a voice that has always sounded entirely like her own. David Soul became iconic as Detective Ken Hutch Hutchinson on Starsky and Hutch, where blonde good looks, relaxed cool, and natural charisma made him a memorable crime drama favorite. He died in 2024 at 80, after a life also shaped by music and stage work. He is still remembered for timeless charm and the easy swagger of 70s television. Valerie Bertinelli rose to fame as Barbara Cooper on One Day at a Time, where bright warmth, approachable charm, and natural relatability made her a beloved young star. Now 65, she has embraced a more candid chapter through food, writing, and personal reflection. She remains admired for honesty, resilience, and a warmth that still feels instantly familiar. Bea Arthur became iconic on Maude and later The Golden Girls, where a commanding voice, razor-sharp timing, and fearless confidence made her one of television's unforgettable women. She died in 2009 at 86, leaving a legacy larger than comedy alone. She still inspires through wit, strength, and a compassion that continues to resonate with viewers. Laura Dern became acclaimed through Blue Velvet, Jurassic Park, and later Big Little Lies, where fearless range, intelligent intensity, and natural presence made her one of the screen's most compelling performers. Now 59, she remains active across film and television while continuing to evolve creatively. She is still admired for courage, versatility, and a career built on bold choices. Pamela Buck became known through Baywatch and other television work, where bright glamour, polished confidence, and sunlit appeal tied her to a memorable era of screen beauty. She died in 2025 at 62, leaving behind a recognizable image from that glossy television wave. She is still remembered for charm, visibility, and a familiar pop culture presence. Catherine Bach turned into a television sensation as Daisy Duke on The Dukes of Hazzard, where radiant beauty, self-assured charm, and breezy appeal made her instantly unforgettable. Now 72, she is still strongly linked to that recognizable image and still carries herself with easy glamour. She continues to inspire affection through confidence, charisma, and a lasting pop culture impression. Bill Bixby became unforgettable as Dr. David Banner on The Incredible Hulk, where thoughtful intensity, gentle presence, and emotional restraint gave the series its human center. He died in 1993 at 59, much sooner than many expected. He is still beloved for dignity, sensitivity, and the quiet sorrow he brought to a role audiences continue to remember. Through glamorous television roles, Morgan Fairchild emerged as one of the screen's most recognizable beauties, with flawless blonde polish, luxurious poise, and elegant confidence. Now 76, she remains visible through interviews, advocacy, and public appearances. She is still admired for classic glamour, durability, and the self-possession of a star always fully in command. Valerie Harper became famous as Rhoda Morgenstern on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and Rhoda, where sharp wit, stylish independence, and relatable warmth made her one of television's most beloved women. She died in 2019 at 80 after facing illness with remarkable openness. Her legacy still glows through courage, humor, and emotional honesty that felt deeply human. Karen Grassel became beloved as Caroline Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie, where gentle beauty, quiet strength, and maternal warmth made her one of television's most comforting presences. Now 84, she is still fondly remembered for that graceful role and the calm dignity she brought to it. She remains admired for steadiness, kindness, and timeless emotional warmth. Telly Savalas became iconic as Kojak, where bald-headed cool, a deep commanding voice, and unshakable toughness made him one of television's most recognizable crime stars. He died in 1994 at 72, yet his screen image still feels bold and unmistakable. He remains admired for authority, style, and a persona that never needed any extra embellishment. Holly Hunter became acclaimed through broadcast news and the piano, where intense intelligence, emotional honesty, and quiet force made her one of the most respected actresses of her era. Now 68, she remains active across film and television, choosing her roles with care and depth. She continues to inspire through fearless craft, discipline, and extraordinary emotional clarity. Gene Stapleton became iconic as Edith Bunker on All in the Family, where a gentle voice, comic brilliance, and deeply human warmth made her one of television's most cherished performers. She died in 2013 at 90, yet that tender presence still feels close to viewers. She remains admired for kindness, truthfulness, and the emotional heart she carried into comedy. Lou Ferrigno became unforgettable as the Incredible Hulk, where his towering build, powerful presence, and surprising gentleness made him one of television's most striking action figures. Now 74, he remains active, physically disciplined, and closely connected to longtime fans through appearances and public life. He is still beloved for strength, perseverance, and the human heart beneath an oversized legend. Cindy Morgan became iconic through Tron and Caddyshack, where sleek beauty, playful glamour, and bright retro charm made her a memorable favorite of cult audiences. She died in 2023 at 72, yet her image still glows with nostalgic appeal. She remains beloved for style, charisma, and a legacy tied closely to cherished pop culture classics. Mary Steenburgen became beloved through Melvin and Howard and a long run of film and television work, where grounded warmth, soft radiance, and effortless likability made her deeply appealing on screen. Now 73, she continues to work creatively while balancing acting with songwriting. She remains admired for grace, intelligence, and a warmth that still feels completely genuine. Richard Hatch became iconic as Captain Apollo on Battlestar Galactica, where earnest heroism, adventurous energy, and sincere charm made him a true science fiction favorite. He died in 2017 at 71, but his bond with fans stayed strong to the very end. He is still beloved for commitment, warmth, and a legacy that lives on in genre television. Beth Maitland became famous as Tracy Abbott on The Young and the Restless, where calm sincerity, heartfelt warmth, and gentle intelligence made her a trusted daytime presence for decades. Now 67, she remains closely identified with that enduring role. She is still beloved for emotional honesty, consistency, and the grace she brings to television's quieter moments. Treat Williams became beloved through Hair and Everwood, where warm leading man charm, easy confidence, and restless vitality made him a deeply likable screen presence for decades. He died in 2023 at 71, leaving behind a career built more on consistency than noise. He remains admired for range, generosity, and the steady warmth he brought into every role. Sybil Shepherd became famous through The Last Picture Show and Moonlighting, where luminous beauty, sharp charm, and glamorous confidence made her one of television's most recognizable leading women. Now 76, she still carries the assurance of a star who always understood her own value. She remains beloved for wit, style, and a screen presence both cool and inviting. Darlene Conley became iconic as Sally Spectra on The Bold and the Beautiful, where larger-than-life, glamour, bold wit, and high-voltage presence made her a true daytime legend. She died in 2007 at 72, yet the character still shines brightly in soap history. She remains admired for flair, confidence, and television energy that was impossible to forget. Sharon Lawrence became acclaimed as Sylvia Costas on NYPD Blue, where sharp intelligence, grounded emotion, and commanding presence gave real weight to every scene. Now 64, she continues to work steadily in film and television with that same polished authority. She remains admired for credibility, strength, and the quiet power of consistently excellent work. Jack Lord became iconic as Steve McGarrett on Hawaii Five-0, where silver-haired authority, a sharp gaze, and commanding cool made him one of television's most memorable crime heroes. He died in 1998 at 77, after a notably private later life. He remains admired for dignity, discipline, and the timeless force he brought to the small screen. Maureen McCormick became beloved as Marsha Brady on The Brady Bunch, where a sunny smile, polished beauty, and easy sweetness made her a defining family television favorite. Now 69, she remains warmly tied to that cherished role and still brings bright nostalgia to every appearance. She is still beloved for comfort, charm, and the familiarity she gave classic television. Estelle Getty became unforgettable as Sophia Petrillo on The Golden Girls, where a tiny frame, fearless comic timing, and razor-sharp delivery made her one of television's great scene stealers. She died in 2008 at 84, but her humor still feels gloriously alive. She remains beloved for laughter, warmth, and a spirit that never lost its bite. Ed Harris became acclaimed through powerful film and television roles, where rugged intensity, moral gravity, and restrained authority made him one of America's most respected actors. Now 75, he continues to work with the same seriousness and command that shaped his career. He remains admired for discipline, depth, and a screen presence rooted in total credibility. Jane Keane became beloved as Trixie Norton on The Honeymooners, where warm familiarity, comic charm, and lively spirit made her a treasured part of classic television comedy. She died in 2013 at 90, leaving behind a career filled with recognizable appearances. She is still beloved for comfort, humor, and a charm that never went out of style. Harry Hamlin became famous through LA Law, where classic leading man looks, polished confidence, and easy sophistication made him one of television's most recognizable dramatic stars. Now 74, he remains visible through selective acting and a public life shaped by family and reinvention. He remains admired for longevity, charisma, and the calm assurance he brings on screen. Wayne Rogers became beloved as Trapper John on MASH, where easy confidence, handsome charm, and grounded wit made him one of television's most likable stars. He died in 2015 at 82 after building an impressive second life in business and finance. He remains admired for intelligence, warmth, and a legacy that reached well beyond acting. Beverly D'Angelo became famous as Ellen Griswold in the Vacation films, where earthy glamour, comic ease, and strong natural confidence made her an enduring screen favorite. Now 74, she is still admired for a career that balanced comedy, drama, and candid reflections on family life. She remains beloved for range, resilience, and warmth that never feels forced. Katherine Helmond became beloved on Soap and Who's the Boss, where elegant timing, sharp wit, and warm comic sparkle made her one of television's most comforting presences. She died in 2019 at 89, after a career filled with memorable character work. She remains beloved for humor, grace, and the effortless delight she brought into every scene. Chris Cooper became acclaimed through Lonesome Dove and adaptation, where rugged credibility, quiet intensity, and grounded authority made him one of America's most trusted character actors. Now 74, he continues choosing thoughtful roles shaped more by craft than celebrity. He remains admired for restraint, seriousness, and the rare power of making every performance feel fully lived in. Rue McClanahan became famous as Blanche Devereaux on The Golden Girls, where sultry glamour, sparkling wit, and playful confidence made her one of television's most unforgettable comic stars. She died in 2010 at 76, but her performances still feel vibrant and deliciously alive. Her legacy still shines through elegance, humor, and a personality that could light any scene. Erin Gray became beloved as Colonel Wilma Deering on Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, where elegant beauty, poised strength, and futuristic charisma made her one of classic television's standout science fiction women. Now 76, she still enjoys a warm connection with fans through appearances and conventions. She remains admired for grace, confidence, and enduring cult television appeal. Marion Seldes became revered for her stage and television work, where elegant intelligence, refined poise, and extraordinary discipline made her a performer of rare distinction. She died in 2014 at 86, leaving behind a legacy admired across generations. She remains remembered for craft, dignity, and the timeless sophistication she brought to every appearance. Michael Dorn became iconic as Worf on Star Trek, where a powerful voice, towering presence, and steady intensity made him one of science fiction television's most enduring figures. Now 73, he remains closely linked to that legendary role and warmly regarded by fans around the world. He remains beloved for strength, discipline, and a commanding presence that never lost impact. Anne Gillian became widely loved on It's a Living, where bright charisma, classic glamour, and lively sparkle made her a standout television favorite. Now 76, she is also remembered for public courage after surviving breast cancer and speaking openly about that journey. She remains admired for resilience, warmth, and a spirit that never lost its shine. Jolie Richardson became acclaimed as Julia McNamara on Nip Tuck, where refined elegance, cool intelligence, and understated emotional depth made her a distinctive dramatic presence. Now 61, she continues to work selectively in film and television with the same poise and seriousness. She remains admired for sophistication, control, and a career shaped by thoughtful character-driven choices. Linda Goodfriend became beloved as Laurie Beth Cunningham on Happy Days, where soft sincerity, intelligent charm, and gentle presence gave the series an extra layer of sweetness. Now 72, she is also respected for later work teaching and mentoring young performers. She remains admired for warmth, steadiness, and a career shaped by quiet dedication. Avery Brooks became iconic as Captain Benjamin Sisko on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where commanding presence, a resonant voice, and intellectual intensity made him one of science fiction television's most respected figures. Now 77, he keeps a lower public profile while remaining deeply admired by longtime fans. He remains beloved for authority, depth, and lasting cultural importance. George Hamilton became famous as a suave film and television personality, where his unmistakable tan, playful charm, and self-aware cool made him one of entertainment's most recognizable faces. Now 86, he appears more selectively, but still carries that same polished ease in public. He remains admired for timeless glamour, wit, and a celebrity image that endured for decades. Demond Wilson became widely loved as Lamont Sanford on Sanford and Son, where lively energy, sharp comic timing, and natural chemistry made him central to one of television's classic sitcoms. Now 79, he is remembered not only for comedy, but for a later life shaped by ministry and writing. He remains admired for warmth, humor, and heartfelt resilience. Linda Lusardi became well known through British television and entertainment, where approachable glamour, glossy confidence, and easy warmth made her a familiar public figure for years. Now 67, she appears more selectively while maintaining that same polished presence in the public eye. She remains admired for lasting charm, recognizability, and a career shaped by enduring media appeal. Alana Stewart became known through television, lifestyle media, and celebrity culture, where glamorous poise, polished beauty, and easy public confidence made her a familiar face for years. Now 80, she remains visible more as a personality than a regular actress. She is still admired for enduring glamour, media savvy, and a presence that stayed effortlessly recognizable. Scott Grimes became well known through ER and Party of Five, where approachable warmth, youthful charm, and easy versatility made him a familiar television presence. Now 54, he continues acting, singing, and voice work, including long-running success on American Dad. He remains admired for consistency, adaptability, and a career that has stayed steady without ever feeling overplayed. Anson Williams became beloved as Potsy Weber on Happy Days, where boyish charm, easy likability, and warm comic spirit made him a lasting television favorite. Now 76, he is also respected for a long directing career and a graceful life beyond acting. He remains admired for nostalgic appeal, versatility, and the friendliness he brought to the screen. Paul Michael Glaser became iconic as Dave Starsky on Starsky and Hutch, where curly-haired energy, streetwise toughness, and driven charisma made him one of television's memorable action stars. Now 83, he remains connected to fans through appearances and through his long commitment to pediatric AIDS advocacy. He remains admired for resilience, heart, and a legacy shaped by compassion. Natasha McElhone became widely known through The Truman Show, Solaris, and later Californication, where refined elegance, cool poise, and understated emotional depth made her quietly mesmerizing on screen. Now 54, she continues to work across film and television with the same intelligence and grace. She remains admired for sophistication, restraint, and a career shaped by subtle, lasting power. Billy Baldwin became famous through Flatliners, Backdraft, and Sliver, where handsome Polish, cool confidence, and polished star appeal made him a familiar face of 90s screen culture. Now 63, he remains active while balancing acting with family life and a lower-key public image. He remains admired for longevity, recognizability, and a career that kept evolving without chasing noise. Tracy Bregman became famous as Lauren Fenmore on The Young and the Restless, where glossy glamour, fierce confidence, and polished star power made her a standout in daytime television. Now 62, she remains active and closely tied to that enduring role. She remains admired for longevity, consistency, and the magnetic confidence she continues to bring on screen. Stephen Baldwin became well known through The Usual Suspects and The Young Riders, where edgy energy, cocky swagger, and unpredictable spark gave him a distinct place in 90s screen culture. Now 59, he continues to work in film and television while carrying that recognizable edge. He remains remembered for cult appeal, attitude, and a presence that never felt entirely safe. Michael Chiklis became iconic as Vic Mackey on The Shield, where tough intensity, compact force, and commanding grit made him one of television's most forceful dramatic leads. Now 62, he continues acting while expanding into producing and directing with the same determination. He remains admired for reinvention, power, and a career built on conviction rather than vanity. Stellan Skarsgård became acclaimed through Good Will Hunting, Chernobyl, and later major franchise work, where rugged gravity, cerebral intensity, and world-weary authority made him one of the screen's most compelling presences. Now 74, he remains a powerful international actor with extraordinary range. He continues to inspire through daring choices, depth, and an artistic fearlessness that never softens. Peter Sarsgaard became acclaimed through Shattered Glass and later television work, where intense intelligence, unsettling calm, and brooding sophistication made him one of the most compelling actors of his generation. Now 55, he continues choosing difficult layered roles instead of easy stardom. He remains admired for seriousness, complexity, and performances that always seem to reveal something deeper. René Russo became famous through Lethal Weapon 3, Get Shorty, and The Thomas Crown Affair, where striking glamour, cool confidence, and sleek sophistication made her one of the era's most memorable screen stars. Now 72, she works more selectively while keeping that same effortless authority. She remains admired for elegance, control, and a magnetism that never had to shout. What made these stars memorable was never perfection alone. It was presence, individuality, and the sense that each face carried a life behind it. If one of these names still stays with you, tell us which one, and tell us why.